Welcome listeners to the new edition of Spec the Truth, where I'm joined today with Drew Wilson from Termimesh, industry-leading termite protection solutions. How you going, Drew?
I'm really well, thank you.
That's the way. And Drew, for our listeners today, we're going to be diving into how architects can future-proof their designs against one of the most persistent threats in construction, that being termites. We'll explore how Termimesh fits into modern architecture, compliance, sustainability, and cost efficiency. How's that sound?
Sounds like a good topic.
Lovely, mate, lovely. Cool, so I'll get my first question. How can architects incorporate termite protection systems like Termimesh into their designs without compromising on aesthetics or structural integrity?
Well, as far as Termimesh goes, it's normally incorporated into two main stages of the construction, one being Part A, which is typically known as the underslab, and that incorporates all hydraulic and electrical penetrations, construction and cold joints and the like. And then Part B, which is your perimeter treatment. So that's the two general categories where we come in and install our products. So Part A, the underslab, like I said, the hydraulic, electrical, or any kind of penetrations through the concrete itself, will come in, treat that basically at the same stage as the steel fixes are there. So the mesh itself gets integrated into the actual concrete core, so it becomes an integral part of the build. So it has no negative effect on any construction integrity at all. As far as the Part B, the perimeter, that goes various different ways, but quite often it's sitting under walls, heavable, tilt-up panels, locking into external concrete parts. So there's a variety of options, but again, aesthetically, it's very rarely seen and has no effect negatively or otherwise on structural integrity.
Excellent. And with that, Drew, if designers all right through to the construction, I imagine they can reach out to you to brainstorm or to troubleshoot any of this.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We understand we're a pretty small component of the overall project, but an important one nonetheless. So we try and have an ease of use, for lack of a better term. So any questions? So this is what we do all day, every day. So we work with a lot of architects where they just forward me plans or details, and we will just go through in detail what we need to, and then forward that back. We will mark up plans and what have you for the architects.
Yeah.
So they know the full scope to cover.
Perfect, love that. And jumping now to compliance and standards. These are so important for architects. I'm curious, what role does Termimesh play in meeting building codes and compliance requirements for commercial projects, especially in termite-prone regions?
Yeah, well, the Australian standard we work to is 3660.1, so that's pre-construction termite control. Termimesh meets every aspect and every section. We're fully compliant. We've been around about 30 years now, so we like to think we've got a pretty good handle on what we're doing. So we basically, like I said previously, we can help with the design side of things. So we can, the architect can specify exactly what needs to be covered to meet the Australian standard and have full compliance.
Excellent. And off the top, we mentioned sustainability as one of these factors that Termimesh works so well in. I want to drill down a little further with that, and with sustainability, such a key factor and focus in modern architecture. How does Termimesh align with green building practices and long-term environmental goals?
Yeah, well, as far as the environmental side of things goes, Termimesh is a marine-grade stainless steel, so it's a true physical barrier. So there's no chemicals involved. So that's quite a big tick from the green side of things. As far as green star ratings go, I'll just quickly read stuff because I don't want to get anything wrong here with the wording.
Please do. Yeah.
As far as things go, Termimesh can contribute to green star credits under the materials and innovation categories when used in certified projects, as it supports low impact materials and sustainable building practices. I'd also mention that Termimesh holds ISO 14001 environmental management certification, which reinforces its sustainability credentials. that's I guess the big point for us with the green side of things, green stuff. But it's that fact it's a marine grade physical barrier as opposed to chemical.
Yeah, peace of mind for longevity for sure, and that might sort of come to now. I want to sort of look at this from a slightly different perspective, and that being potential cost benefit to the build, and how does investing in physical termite barrier like Termimesh compare to chemical treatments over the life of a commercial build?
Yeah, like I said, Termimesh being a physical barrier, it's and being a marine grade stainless steel, it will actually outlast the physical life of the building. So there's no retreatments involved. There's no ongoing costs from that perspective. So that's a big attraction to our clients. That fact that they're able to use something that's a physical barrier and not have that unfortunate ongoing cost of reapplication of products to the building. In some aspects, with ongoing costs with reapplication, some buildings, like I highlighted earlier with the underslab, access to those areas isn't possible, so retreatment really isn't an option. So that's what we find we're in a lot of demand.
So it's almost get it right at the start, particularly with where your product is generally implemented, to make sure, to your point, that it can outlast the life of a build, right? But to make sure there's nothing that needs to be done once it's installed. That's peace of mind, and the building continue, and ideally we're not compromising the integrity of that build.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And Drew, a lot of designers, architects out there, particularly those using Earlymark for their specifications, are continuing to push the boundaries of design. As building designs evolve with new materials and technologies, how's Termimesh adapting to ensure continued effectiveness in modern architecture?
Yeah, things are moving really quickly, as you pointed out. A lot of different materials. We're very proactive with that. We're very fortunate in terms of we manufacture our own product, therefore it comes in different sizes where we can cut and mold and form it to any kind of detail. With some of the new stuff, like I had one last week with slab edge insulation, just with some architects reaching out, locally based here in Adelaide, wanting to understand how the product could be installed, if it can, and how it would go in that detail, so we could design that and have that as a reference moving forward with builds. So that's something we do quite regularly. We'll look at, obviously with architects, look at what's out, scratch my head a bit and go through it with our estimators and do a design, and then work something out that's going to be workable. Won't need to deal with the building process, but can still give the effectiveness it needs and warrant the product for the client.
It's interesting here because, I suppose with yourself, Drew, and the team there at Termimesh, having such experience in the game, as buildings continue to evolve, as we touched on with that question, is that having such a strong fundamental understanding for what you do means that if there are any of those innovations or anything gets thrown your way that might be a little bit curly, you can sort of draw upon that experience to actually, make sure you are ahead of the game, or that you are best prepared for any innovation that might come your way.
Yeah, we try and be as progressive as possible. I'm old enough and ugly enough to know that things change. You've got to roll with it. I've got a building back, helping me with that design side of things and understanding the building process in general. So things are constantly changing and very fluid, but it makes life interesting.
I could imagine. And Drew, to finish off, as I touched on, very experienced, you and the team at Termimesh. Not a lot you haven't come past or been involved in or had to problem solve. And I'm curious, are there any horror stories, anything that you've come across now, whether that be a designer that hasn't used termite protection or hasn't used Termimesh, that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, well, while I definitely don't want to preach fear to people. It's unfortunately, the reality is termites can do a lot of damage. They can do them very quickly. I know of one project. It wasn't where an architect or a designer neglected to put termite control in. It's under the building code. If it's a steel structure and there's no timber structural elements, termite control is deemed not necessary. So this particular project, they followed the code.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there was a lot of termite damage within 18 months of the build. I was called out by the owner to come and have a look and try and assist. Fortunately, termites eat cellulose. So there's the cellulose in paper, like for example, on the back of gyprock, in timbers and whatnot. So this project had no termite control. Termites gained access to the property, and it done approximately $48,000 of damage within 18 months of the build. Although it was deemed cosmetic, not structural, it was skirting, architraves, and damage to the gyprock, some kitchen cupboards and whatnot. So there's nothing structural, but still there's no insurance that covers any form of termite damage. So the client was holding the can on that one, and then also to try and put some kind of barrier in a remedial capacity to try and stop any termite ingress in the future.
It's interesting, yeah, and it's not necessarily like anyone's fault. As you said, that they're following the code, they're doing everything by the book, but it's just almost, unaware or I'm not going to say uneducated, but just not being aware of the situation and what may come of that, and that's where reaching out to yourselves, any project, just to make sure they've ticked that box. It's it's something that the team at Termimesh can really help with. Your information is within Earlymark SpecSuite. So as designers, from this conversation we're having, go in and would like to include your product in their spec, or would like to reach out to you, all your information, as it is within Earlymark. We've pre-authored your product, so it couldn't be any easier for a designer to select and include within their schedule. So hopefully we've saved some projects moving forward, and Drew, really appreciate your time today, and thanks for discussing a little bit about termite prevention.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, mate.